There's an amazing website that I use. I'd love to give them a quick shout out, which I'll do now. And it's schoolranks.com.au. These guys are absolutely fantastic, and they give you a non-bias overall ranking of using the data of the local areas. So you can have a look and you can find what those rankings of the schools are, which ones are doing, absolutely amazing, and where those schools are ranking through the thing. You can go and find your school and you can have a look at it. You can go and compare. You can have a look at catchment areas, which is absolutely phenomenal and fantastic. The tool itself is absolutely incredible to give you the understanding to make sure that if you want to be hypothetically in Brisbane State High, you are buying a house in Brisbane State High. And if you are buying on the fringes, with all the apartments that are going in South Bank, and you're buying a fringe apartment or a fringe house, could they redraw the boundary lines and could you get cut out? And if that's the case, are we better off buying more in the heart of the suburb where they're less likely to cut you out of that school and you don't have to stress about being told you have to move schools to this area when you want your kids to go to that school? So it's an amazing tool that I use to help speed up and have those conversations with my clients. I've seen it where the government, you end up, you buy a house hypothetically in Auchenflower, right? And you just, your house is on this side of the street. And what happens is they build a new apartment building or a new townhouse complex, and 20 families move in. They've all got 20 kids. The apartment building hypothetically might be right next door to the school itself or the townhouse complex. So they're obviously going to go to that school, and the government looks at it and goes, well, hang on a second. Milton is struggling to get a whole heap of students, where in and around here, there's a ton of students in this area. We need to change that. Sorry, Toowong. So Toowong might be struggling for students, where Milton has got every man and his dog going to school. So they redraw the boundary line over by one or two streets. And because you're on the fringe, you've now changed from Milton State School into Toowong State School. And they come along and go, look, guys, we're over our capacity of students. You're no longer in our catchment area. We would like you to change schools. They can't quite force you to do it, but they can make it difficult in a way that you don't feel welcome there. Where's the catchment area? Where's the school? What school do I want to be in? Okay. What are my schools in the local area? Like for my wife and I, where we are, the schools that we've got access to, we've got, I don't want to talk negatively of it, but we've got one school that is probably not quite desirable for our son, and we were worried he was going to get bullied. And then we've got another school that we could have potentially put on the out of catchment and the wait list to get into that area, and we would have potentially got into that area, but he would have got lost in the sea of crowd. Like the amount of kids in that school, I think the school for a primary school's got something absolutely ridiculous, like 1,200 students. So we ended up choosing a Catholic school, and we're going through a Catholic private school. And the school itself is absolutely amazing. My son's got a bit of a speech delay because he was a COVID baby, and we probably didn't get out and talk to him as much as we should. Busy dad, busy mum, firstborn, etc., etc. Don't get me wrong, we did our reading and everything like that. But the school that we're going to has been so amazing and so supportive and so willing to help that we're actually seeing him excel and thrive and getting so much better, where potentially if we went to one of those other schools, we may not have got that same support. I'm not saying we wouldn't have, definitely, but with tools like this, we were able to make that judgment call. And then obviously turning up to the schools at those open days and just feeling what that felt like is that. And this site helped because it was able to give us a better understanding of what those dynamics of those areas look like. And then we were able to do a lot more research on the back of that. So for me, having the knowledge of those different things, having the tools, having the understanding of where to find the information. It's out there, it exists. But where do you find it? How do you find it? What's the easy and simplest way? You know, if I use ChatGPT or if I use Manus or any of the other AIs, is it giving me actual hard evidence and proof, or is it telling me a story? I'm not saying that they do a bad job, but we've all used one of those AIs in our life where it gives us a confirmation bias to something. And when you challenge it and you say, I think you're wrong, it comes back with a completely different story and says that it didn't do the research properly. And you sort of sit there scratching your head going, why do you do that? So if you don't choose the right location, you could be getting in an area where the schools aren't fantastic. Your son or daughter might have some higher needs. Like my son needs speech therapy. I take him to speech on a Tuesday morning. I have an ongoing appointment slot that I basically book out each week so I can take him there. And we're trying to help him and develop and get that speech. If your child has got that sort of issue or anything, and you choose the wrong school and the child is then bullied in that location, in that school, they're not likely to go to school. If they're not likely to go to school, they're not going to want to learn as much. And then, as you're well aware of, when you get into adulthood, if you're not doing that learning and that understanding and have that knowledge, it becomes very difficult to make money. And in this economy, unless you're making good money, it's very hard for you to A, raise a family, and B, buy property. Okay? So having those tools, having the school ranking website that you're able to look at and work out what those schools are and whether or not they're going to help support your child, give them that thirst of knowledge, and having that understanding and that time to do the research. That's the reason why hiring a buyer's agent, someone that has this knowledge, has that understanding, has the ability to do that research for you, is absolutely critical. Because what might take me 10 minutes to do, because I understand, I know what I'm looking for, I know where the tools are, might take you an hour and a half to do. And before you know it, you've gone down a rabbit hole on a side track of something that's not relevant to your situation. You've wasted a further 2 hours. So, 3 hours of your life has just gone down. Hopefully they've seen this website and they know they can do their own research in regards to the website, or they can go, I'm too busy to do it myself. I'll just get Tim to do it because he knows where to go and look for it. But yeah, if they don't do the research, it could impact, and then that's generational. That might be the difference between, having grandkids and, that generational where you sort of sit there and you smile and go, my boy or my daughter has, done more amazing than we did as that. And how great is this, to, oh my God, they're going to live with me until I'm 70 and I drop dead. I'm never moving them out of this house because, they're still working at the Macca's drive-through, 10 hours a week. They're not even doing uni. All they do is sit on their game in their room 24/7. They don't even try and, expand or socialize. I'm never getting grandkids. They're, all those things. So to me, it's that nurturing and that sort of growing that culture moving forward.